Good morning. I am Dr. Kumuda. Welcome to webinar on financial statements under the series of webinar from Ramaiah Institute of Management. And as you can see, today I'm going to be speaking on an interesting topic called financial statement analysis. So now let's start with the backdrop. As you can see in the topic, there are two terms. One is financial statement and the other is analysis. Financial statement and analysis. So let's first try to understand what these two are. What are financial statements? And then why is analysis of financial statements required? See, what are financial statements? Financial statements, I would say, are like progress reports of companies. Like how students may have progress reports in school or college, the financial statements are like progress reports of companies. They tell about the progress of the company, especially the financial progress. And financial statements or annual reports, when we say, consists of the following four statements: the profit and loss statement, balance sheet, statement of assets and liabilities, cash flow statement, and statement of shareholders' equity. Now, the second question, why is analysis of financial statements required? Now, there are who are called stakeholders of a company. That is, people who have some kind of an interest in the company. Now, that interest may be direct interest or indirect. That is, they are directly involved in the company, some kind of an interest, they are directly involved with the company. They have a direct relationship with the company, or it can also be indirect. Like, for example, public may not be directly involved in a particular company, but still we say they are stakeholders of the company. And secondly, this interest or stake may be financial or non-financial. All of them together are called users of accounting information. Now, I have given here this list so that you get an idea of who are the stakeholders in the company or who are the users of accounting information. Based on their relationship with the company, they may be classified or categorized as internal users and external users. The internal users mainly consist of the management, department, area, or functional heads in the company and the employees of the company. The external users, shareholders, of course, we all know that shareholders are owners of the company. How can they be external? But the thing is that they're not involved in the day-to-day operations of the company. See, suppose I have 10 shares of a company, I'm not going to the corporate office of the company day in and day out, right? So therefore, as far as I'm concerned, I need dividend, I need that market price should go up, and I'm not interfering in the day-to-day operations of the company, though I may go to the annual general meeting and vote. So therefore, normally, unless you're a large shareholder, you have something like 5% stake in the company, small shareholders normally can be called external users. Then you have creditors and debenture holders, prospective investors, banks and financial institutions, customers, suppliers, investment analysts and portfolio managers, academicians and researchers, public at large, market research firms, and government. Now, to just get a glimpse of what is the kind of stake they may have, I have given very briefly. Okay, I reiterate that what I am showing here is a very, very brief of what their typical concerns are for each of the user group. In case you want more information on this, you can refer to the book Financial Accounting by Professor Narayan Swamy. Okay, so now let us see what is the user group and what is their typical concern. Investors, for example, as I was mentioning to you about shareholders, As shareholders or investors, our concern will be, should we buy or sell or hold a company stock? And are the companies fundamentally strong, right? Lenders are interested to know, can the company pay the principal and interest on time? How good is the credit history of the borrower? And as a management group, we would be interested to know profits, right? So we are interested to know, are the profits reasonable, below average or above average? Are the costs under control? As employees, we would be interested in, is the company going to survive for long so that we can have job security? As of now, this is a main concern. And see, for example, when Kingfisher was going through doldrums, companies' employees didn't get salary for something like 8-9 months, right? So as employees, we would be interested in the survival of our company, and has the company's financial performance been stable so that we can expect regular payments. Creditors will be interested to know, will the company continue to be or become a major source of business for us, and can the company make payment for purchase on time? Customers will be interested to know, is the company going to survive for long so that we can comfortably depend on it for supplies? Government, of course, is an important stakeholder. It is interested to know, is the company paying all taxes promptly? Is the company reporting its financial information as per statutory and professional requirements? The public are concerned about safety and environment, and they are interested to know, are the company's operations and promotion methods used having a negative influence on the society? That's a brief idea. As I said, detail you can get from Professor Narayan Swamy. So we understand that all stakeholders want that the company should be healthy, not become sick, because if it becomes sick, eventually the company will die and all the stakeholders will suffer. So what is being healthy? Now let's say if we are talking about a human being, there are these 4 basic health indicators or parameters. When a patient is taken to a hospital, for example, even if it's an emergency or a casualty, the first 4 things that the doctor would check would be oxygen, sugar level, BP, pulse rate. Only then they go further to decide what treatment has to be given. Similarly, for a company, there are some 4 basic parameters of indicating health, that is financial health. What are these? Say financial health of a company has 4 aspects. One is the profitability. You can somewhat say it is like oxygen, right, for us. So profitability is the ability to generate profits, right? So like how we can't survive if there is no oxygen, a company cannot survive if there is no profit. A company cannot keep on making losses year after year after year and still be surviving, right? The second is the solvency. Solvency is the ability of a company to repay its long-term debt. It's somewhat like sugar level for us. If the sugar level is little bit plus or minus, we can still manage, but by being cautious, okay? And setting it right in the due course, not letting it continue in the wrong direction for a longer time. Similarly, if you find that solvency is a little bit plus or minus, you become cautious and set it right, okay? For that, you need to do the analysis. What we are talking about, that is the financial analysis or financial statement analysis. And the third is liquidity. Liquidity is the ability of a company to repay its short-term debts. I would say somewhat it is like BP for us, it can fluctuate, and similarly liquidity of a company can fluctuate, but we should ensure that it is neither too high nor too low, okay? It has to be appropriate. Similarly, company has to look after that its liquidity is neither too high nor too low, and it's maintained as a stable at an appropriate level. And then comes the efficiency. Efficiency is defined as ability of a company to generate revenues. it is like pulse rate for us, right? Now, if pulse rate becomes 0 for us, what happens? We die. Similarly, if efficiency for a company becomes 0, the company will die, right? So these are the parameters which have to be analyzed for a company, and that is what is called the financial analysis, right? Now, we have medical tools to test oxygen, sugar, BP, or pulse rate. We have financial tools to analyze the solvency, efficiency, profitability, and liquidity for companies. So before going to the tools, let us see the meaning or the definition, a formal meaning or definition of financial statement analysis. It is the process of analyzing a company's financial statements for decision-making purpose. It involves applying appropriate tools, techniques, or tests on the figures depicted in the financial statements and interpreting the results thereof. It helps in better assessment. It helps in better assessment of financial health of the company. As I mentioned, what are the tools? The tools of financial statement analysis. These are the tools: ratio analysis, trend analysis, common size statement analysis, comparative statement analysis, cash flow statement, and fund flow statement. Of these 6, ratio analysis is most widely used, although the others are also used. So today I'm going to be discussing in depth the ratio analysis, time permitting, because we have something like 1 hour, we cannot touch upon all of them. I have taken up ratio analysis. It's good, it's interesting, and anybody can understand it. So it's an important tool for analyzing financial strengths and weaknesses of the business entities. It involves computation of accounting ratios and interpreting them. As we understood, 4 important parameters of financial health of a company: profitability, solvency, liquidity, and turnover or efficiency. We have ratios to assess them. So they are called profitability ratios, used to assess profitability; solvency ratios, used to assess solvency; liquidity ratios, used to assess liquidity; turnover ratios is used to assess efficiency. The word efficiency is missing there. It is used to assess efficiency. Now, profitability and efficiency, you need to look into both the statements, profit and loss account and balance sheet, to assess them. Solvency and liquidity you can assess by looking into the balance sheet. So now let's analyze some financial statements. Instead of taking hypothetical companies and hypothetical figures, I thought, why not take some actual numbers? So I have taken 2 companies in a same industry, that is pharmaceuticals, Sun Pharmaceuticals Industries Limited and Aurobindo Pharma Limited. I have taken actual data. It could have been taken from the portal of the companies in the PDF form of annual report, but it's a very bulky document and difficult to share in this platform. So what I have done is I have used our database, that is Capitaline database, Capitaline MSRM, wherein we have about more than 5,000 companies database. The financial statements and a lot of other information is available here. So I am just showing them to you so that you know that what numbers we are dealing are actual numbers. You can see Sun Pharmaceuticals profit and loss statement. This is Sun Pharmaceutical Industries Limited. This is downloaded from the database. Income statement, you can see, is given for last 5 years, from March 2015 to March 2019. Then we have Aurobindo's income statement, you can see. Yeah, Aurobindo Pharma, similarly, 5 years income statement is available here. This is from capitaline.com. Then we have balance sheet of Aurobindo Pharma. Yeah, This is balance sheet of Aurobindo Pharma, right? Yeah. Now, balance sheet of Sun Pharma is not opening up right now, so it's okay. It is similar to this one. Now, let us come back to our presentation. You have seen the financial statements of these two companies. What I have done is to suit or make it convenient for a classroom and a platform like this online, I have abridged the 4 financial statements. Okay, so this is income statement for the year ending 31st March 2019. I have given for both the companies, Sun and Aurobindo, in a columnar way. And all the amounts are in rupees crores, right? These amounts have been taken from the Excel sheets, what you saw, actual financial statements of the two companies. Just give a look at this. Sales, other or non-operating incomes, stock adjustments. Then you have the total income. It's about 30,000 crores for Sun and about 20,000 crores for Aurobindo. Then deduct from that expenses. In the first stage, expenses are called direct expenses, which includes raw materials, power and fuel cost, employee cost, and other manufacturing expenses, right, for both the companies. So total income minus direct expenses is called gross profit. It's about 13,700 crores for Sun and 6,900 crores for Aurobindo. Then you deduct the other expenses, selling and administration expenses, miscellaneous expenses, and depreciation. After you have deducted the indirect expenses also, you get what is called earning before interest and tax, or EBIT, or popularly called operating profit. It's about 4,000 crores for Sun and 3,000 crores for Aurobindo. Interest component is deducted next. It's about 555 crores for Sun and 262 crores for Aurobindo. Then you have earnings before tax, about 3,800 crores for Sun and 3,000 crores for Aurobindo. Then there is tax on this, 600 and 726, right? So you have earnings after tax, 3,209.32 crores for Sun and 2,364.5 crores for Aurobindo. Balance sheet also we will see for both the companies. What you saw in the Excel was vertical form, which actually is the form it is presented. But for classroom purpose, I have converted the same into horizontal form, because normally we are familiar with this type of form and it's easy to see and understand, and moreover it had to fit into one slide. So you have on the left hand side capital and liabilities for Sun and Aurobindo. Important figures in the balance sheet I have highlighted, like shareholders funds, about 44,700 crores for Sun and 13,800 crores for Aurobindo. Then total debt. Then there are secured loans, unsecured loans, and other long-term liabilities. Major components of debt. So total debt, that is long-term debt for Sun, is about 11,500 crores for Sun and 7,000 crores for Aurobindo. And then you have other liabilities called current liabilities and provisions, and both put together total current liabilities, about 8,300 crores for Sun and 5,300 crores for Aurobindo. Then coming to the asset side, you have net fixed assets. I have taken directly. Net fixed assets means fixed assets minus depreciation till date. It's about 27,000 crore for Sun and 10,500 crores for Aurobindo. Then there are investments. These investments represent long-term investment and investments made outside of the company in the form of bonds, debenture, shares, whatever. So it's about 7,900 crores for Sun and 360 crores for Aurobindo. And then you have current assets, loans and advances. These are the four main components in current assets: inventories, sundry debtors, cash and bank, loans and advances. Then you have the total current assets, which is about 29,569 crores for Sun and 15,300 crores for Aurobindo. Now let's see, these are the financial statements I have highlighted. You have seen actual numbers and important components in both the financial statements. We will try to apply these four parameters, that is profitability, solvency, liquidity, and efficiency on these two financial statements of the two companies. At the same time, we will apply on both the companies and interpret and see comparatively which company is better off. I have, started from this profitability ratios. Profitability ratios, as I mentioned to you, help us to assess the ability of a company to generate profit. Now, profit can be compared in relation to sales and profit in relation to investment. So accordingly, you have profitability ratios based on sales, of which the important ones are gross profit ratio or gross margin, net profit ratio or net margin, operating profit ratio or operating margin. Apart from these three profit ratios, normally we also look at expenses ratios, because expenses, the lesser the expenses, better is the profitability. So we would always like to ensure that costs are under control. So we also look into expenses ratios. Of the expenses ratios, the important ones are cost of goods sold ratio, selling and administration expenses ratio. And if you think that interest is an important or a major expense for you, you can also compute interest expenses ratios. In fact, these are very few ratios which I have taken to discuss in this class. You can compute, you can go very deep into ratio analysis and compute as many as 150, 200 ratios. So that depends on your purpose, right? And how deep and how critical you want to be, how critically you want to evaluate, right? Then profitability ratios based on investment. That is, you are looking at here how much profit you have earned on your investments. If you have made an investment of, suppose, say, 1 lakh rupees, what is the return you are getting? So these five are the important ratios based on investment. ROI, this is quite common. It's popular. Many people talk about ROI. ROA, that is return on assets. ROE, that is return on equity. And EPS, that is earning per share. And DPS, that is dividend per share. Yeah. Now I have started with the ratios for these two companies, and I would like you to participate by answering to the two questions which are stated below, right? I thought any participant will be easy to, find it easy to interpret the ratio, having understood the meaning of the ratio, because most of the ratios are also appealing to our common sense. So you need not be a student of finance or, a finance person to interpret this. Anybody can interpret. So gross profit ratio, that is gross margin, is gross profit upon sales. You can convert it into percentage, right? So from our financial statements, I've taken these figures. For Sun, gross profit was 13,757.03 crores. For Aurobindo, 6,913.75 crores. Their respective sales were 29,065.91 and 19,563.55. I have also computed the ratio and kept so that we can focus on interpretation here rather than doing the calculation. So we find that the gross profit ratio of Sun Pharmaceuticals is 47.33% and that of Aurobindo is 35.34%. Okay. So is the gross margin sufficient is the question, and which company is better off? Can I see the responses of participants? So would anybody like to answer this? Is the gross margin sufficient? You may say yes, no, right? Yeah, good. And which company is better off? Yeah, great. Okay. So as far as gross profit ratio is concerned, Sun Pharmaceutical is better off. It is able to have a margin of 47%, right? It's clear? So gross profit represents, first level of profit. After once, you have your sales or total income, deduct the major components, the direct expenses from the revenues, right? What remains with you is called gross profit. It is still required for you to further provide other expenses. So it is very important that you have a good margin for gross profit. You can't end up for something like 20, 25, 15% at the gross itself, right? It means that for further administration expenses, you don't have sufficient margin. So here we find that for further administration expenses, finance expenses, you still have a margin of 53% for Sun and about 65% for Aurobindo. So both companies at this stage are quite comfortable, right? But still Aurobindo is on the safer side as compared to Sun. The next stage of profit is called operating profit, right? So we have operating profit being compared to sales, right? So that is called operating margin. It is equal to operating profit by net sales into 100. I need not read out the figures every time. We'll just look at the ratio. Okay, you can just see the figures on the in the table. So operating profit ratio for Sun is 15.02% and 17.14% for Aurobindo. So which company is, so first question, is the operating margin sufficient? Do you think that something like 15, 17% is sufficient? Yeah, not so much on the safer side, because you will still have interest, financial expenses. But however, if your interest expense is not very major, then this may be okay for operating profit, 15 and 17%. But if your interest is more, when will the interest be more? If you have more debt in your capital, right? As we saw in the balance sheet, I think the debt component is quite lesser compared to the equity component. So they will not have too much of interest. So they should be okay considering that. So which company is better off? They are more or less same, but still if you have to identify one company, Aurobindo is better off with 17%. This is clear? Then we go to the final stage of profit, which is called net profit ratio or the net margin. So this is your final profit. Compare this to the net sales or your total income. That is called net margin. So we see here that net profit ratio for Sun is 11% and for Aurobindo it is 12%. So do you think that a final profit, that is net profit margin, something like 11% and 12% is good enough? Yeah, it's quite okay. It's on the higher side. In fact, there are some industries, because it is pharmaceuticals, you are seeing something like 10, 11%, 12%. In many other industries, it is quite less. It is even 7, 8%. So accordingly, we can say the net margin is sufficient, right? And which company is better off? Between the two, Aurobindo is better off with 12%. Fine. Now, we have seen the profit ratios. We will see expenses ratios now. Expenses ratios have to be lower. We would like that expenses should be lower. So the first important ratio is called the cost of goods sold ratio. This is a mistake here. You are seeing net profit on the denominator. Sorry, it has to be cost of goods sold. Cost of goods sold divided by net sales. But the formula and the numbers are correct. Okay, only the formula stated there is showing net profit by mistake. So it is COGS by net sales. What is COGS? The total of raw materials, power and fuel cost, direct labor and other manufacturing expenses together is called cost of goods sold, COGS, right? For Sun, it is 16,767.48 crores, and for Aurobindo, it's about 13,000 crores, right? So you have COGS ratio 57.68% for Sun and 68.92% for Aurobindo. Now, is the cost under control? Whenever we are talking about expenses ratio, we are trying to see, is that particular expense under control or is it beyond, right? See, normally we have what is called an industry average. We will be comparing these with the industry average also. As of now, only 2 companies are there. So which company is better off in this case? COGS? For COGS, Sun is better off. Okay, with, yeah, good. With 57.68%. Whereas Aurobindo, you see what it means is when a company generates a sales of 100 rupees, 57.68 is going off in the first stage itself as the major cost, right? And the balance has to be there to meet other expenses, right? So the lesser the ratio, the better you are. So between these two, Sun and Aurobindo, now Sun is better off. Another important expense ratio. See, I have taken it here together, selling and administration expenses ratio. You can also split them and see, right? Selling expenses to sales and administration expenses to sales. So this is equal to selling and administration expenses upon net sales into 100. You find that the ratio is 18.4% for Sun and 12.6% for Aurobindo. So the question is the cost under control. See, for Sun, something like 20%, close to 20% is the selling and admin. Do you think it is a good, average, reasonable or high? 20% as compared to 12%. So what would you like to advise Sun? Sun perhaps should try to bring down the selling and administration expenses. Yeah, reduce the cost. Mr. Manoj Kumar is saying, yeah, Sun has to definitely look into bringing down the selling and admin costs because it's quite high as compared to its competitor Aurobindo. Okay. Interest expense, as we saw in the balance sheet, the debt components, and you will also be seeing later in the solvency ratios, both companies have lesser debt as compared to equity. So their interest expenses are quite less as compared to their sales. You can see interest expense for Sun is only around 555 crores as compared to a total income of about 29,000 crores for Sun. So the interest ratio happens to be only 1.9%. And for Aurobindo, interest expense is 262 crores as compared to its income of 19,500 crores. So the interest expense ratio is only 1.3%. So is this cost under control? Yes. And which company is better off? Aurobindo is better off. Yeah. Yes, and Aurobindo. Okay. Now, you have looked at profitability, right? Would anybody like to give an overall conclusion about profitability before we go to the next set or type of ratios? What is your feeling about Sun profitability and Aurobindo profitability? Yeah. Overall, are both of them better or is there reason to worry for both of them? Overall, both are better, right? Aurobindo, between them, yeah, we found that most of the profitability ratios were better for Aurobindo. Good. So now Profitability ratios based on investments. Yeah, there is also another component as compared to the investment you have made in the company in the form of maybe assets or maybe in the form of capital. How good is the profitability? Yeah, the first one and the most popular one is the ROI, return on investment, which is defined as EBIT or operating profit upon investment into 100. So operating profit for both companies, you have seen from their income statement, and investment or capital employed is defined as capital plus long-term debt. For Sun, I have given the figures here, you can see. And for Aurobindo, respective equity and debt figures I have given here, you can see. So ROI works out to be 7.76% for Sun, and for Aurobindo, it is 16.03%. So first question, is the ROI sufficient? ROI. For Sun, it looks, that there is a lot of scope to improve. Aurobindo looks good with 16.03%, right? Then we'll see the next ratio, which is ROA, that is return on assets. It is defined as PAT, that is profit after tax divided by total assets. Profit after tax is the final tax, net profit after tax. Total assets is nothing but fixed assets as well as current assets. For Sun and Aurobindo, I have given the respective fixed and current assets and therefore total assets. The Sun has total assets something like 56,687 crores, right? So we find that ROA for Sun is 5.66% and Aurobindo is 9.12%. Again, here we clearly find that Aurobindo is better off with a ROA of 9.12%, right? Okay. If you look at, there's a small difference between ROI and ROA. This is return on investment. Investment includes equity and long-term debt. Basically, the long-term funds in the company and the operating profit generated by those. Whereas in ROA, we are looking at the return generated on the assets employed in the company. So we include the short-term assets as well, apart from the long-term assets. So we are taking the net profit, final profit. That is the difference between these two, ROI and ROA. ROE is the return to equity shareholders, right? So we take here only the equity shareholders funds, and it is defined as profit after tax minus preference dividend, because equity shareholders get their dividend only after making a dividend payment to preference shareholders, right? If there are no preference shareholders, then the entire PAT belongs to the equity shareholders, which is so in our case. Both companies do not have preference share capital, so there is no preference dividend. So PAT is what is the earnings available to equity shareholders. So PAT is equal to earnings available to equity shareholders, about 3,000 crores to Sun, right? And this figure is not visible to me. Chat, please put the chat box here. Fine. It's about 2,364 crores in Aurobindo. And what is equity shareholders fund? It includes equity share capital and reserves or accumulated profits. If there are accumulated losses, we have to eliminate that. There is no such case here in both the companies. They don't have loss, they have only reserves. So both put together, for Sun, it is about 44,700 crores and 13,800 crores for Aurobindo. So it works out that ROE is about 7.17%. This is what equity shareholders get as return. And Aurobindo has registered 17%. So is the ROE sufficient? It is sufficient, and which company is better off? Obviously, Aurobindo with 17%. Yeah, Aurobindo. Then we have, next slide. Yeah, earning per share. This again is a very popular common term which everybody would like to use, EPS, that is earning per share. See, as the name suggests, it is the earning per share on, that is on one share, right? So EPS is defined as earnings available to equity shareholders, that is profit after tax minus preference dividend divided by the number of equity shares. The number of equity shares in both these companies obtained from their database. Sun has about 239.93 crore shares, and Aurobindo has about 58.59 crore shares. PAT already we are familiar with both the companies, right? So PAT divided by number of equity shares. The EPS for Sun is rupees 13.38, and for Aurobindo it is rupees 40.35. So is the EPS sufficient? Yes, in both the cases, even 13 is good compared to many other companies or many other industries, but between these two, you see a wide difference between Sun and Aurobindo. With Sun about 13 rupees only per share and Aurobindo registering 40 rupees of EPS. It's quite good. Okay. Aurobindo for EPS. Then similar DPS. You see in the bracket earnings, sorry, it should be dividend per share. DPS is equal to equity dividend divided by number of shares. Equity dividend from the balance sheets, from the information annual report of the company, 659.82 crores. Dividend declared by Sun, and for Aurobindo, dividend declared is 146.48 divided by number of shares. EPS is 2.75 for Sun and 2.5 for Aurobindo. See, this does not matter much because earnings, EPS is what matters. This last column, last row, EPS is actually DPS, right? See, what you are seeing here, difference, EPS is lesser for Sun, but still it has given more DPS, right? Aurobindo has EPS of 40, but still it has given a DPS of only 2.5. So you don't strictly go by DPS for assessing profitability. It only means that Aurobindo has kept more reserves, right? Yeah. Whereas Sun has distributed more profit. Okay. Some participants have some questions. Can we take all the questions at the end? Okay, Miss Yuvarani, right? We will take the questions at the end, finish all the ratios. Anyway, short answer to your question is yes. She has asked, how do we consider DPS? Is it based on equity shares? Yes, answer is yes. Yeah. Now, we have looked at profitability, and in all the profitability ratios, what was clear to us was that Aurobindo is doing better than Sun. Though size-wise, Sun is a larger company as compared to Aurobindo. So now let us look at solvency ratios. Solvency, as I said, is ability of a company to repay its long-term debt. Solvency is affected by two factors, or say three factors. One is, in the first place, what is your debt? Outstanding debt or long-term debt, and second, how much is the asset backup you have to give as a cushion to that debt, and third, how much is your own capital backup that you have to repay. See, for example, suppose you have loans of 9 rupees and your own money is 1 rupee. You are not comfortable. The backup for you is very less. This is what we assess basically in solvency ratios. Even a company will face that situation. So the important solvency ratios, and which I have taken here, are again this is a very common popular one, the debt equity ratio, right? Debt equity ratio is defined as long-term debts to equity. That is the ratio of your debt to your own money. Equity is company's own capital, whereas debts are borrowed capital. So you compare the two, that's all. So long-term debts of Sun are about 11,500 crores, and for Aurobindo about 7,000 crore, as compared to their respective equities, 44,722.6 crores for Sun and 13,800 crores for Aurobindo, right? So debt equity ratio for Sun is 0.26, and for Aurobindo it is 0.5. Now you tell me, is the debt equity ratio tolerable? Let me first say, interpret. Of course, all of you will definitely understand also. Debt equity ratio of 0.26 means borrowed money is 26 rupees, own money is 74 rupees, right? So is it comfortable? Is Sun comfortable position? Then what about Aurobindo? It is 50. It means 50-50. Borrowed money is 50 and my money is 50. Now in this case, as far as solvency is concerned, we find that Sun is in a more comfortable financial position as compared to Aurobindo. See here, outsiders' claims are more on the company, and it's in fact in a very risky position. Even if it turns out point by 10%, say, the debt equity ratio will become 60-40. That means outsiders claim on the company is more than the owner's claim. It's a risky position. So better you give an advice to Aurobindo. Suppose you have to give an advice to Aurobindo, what would it be? How would you like to advise Aurobindo? Would anybody like to advise Aurobindo? Just reduce debt. I've got at least one response from Mr. Ajit. Yeah, now there are more responses coming. All of you are advising Aurobindo to reduce the debt and improve the debt equity ratio, bring it down, from 50, try to make it 40-30, and bring it to something like 20-25. That's a safer position. So 50-50 means little bit here and there, plus or minus in this situation, in this kind of situation like COVID, etc. Very risky. If it goes up slightly, then owners can any day tell the, creditors can tell the owners any day, you get out, right? Okay. Now, we have another important solvency ratio called proprietary ratio. Proprietors, as you know, are owners, right? So proprietary ratios represents how much is a proprietor's funds in the company, or in other words, how much of the total assets in the company have been financed using proprietor's funds or own funds of the company. Now, proprietor's funds is nothing but owner's fund, and that is nothing but equity. We have seen these figures. We are familiar with these figures for Sun and Aurobindo. And the total assets also we are familiar, fixed assets plus current assets. Now, when you see proprietary ratio of Sun is 78.9%, and for Aurobindo it is 53.6%. Now, it means that if the company has 100 crore worth of assets, owner's claim on that is 78% for Sun and only 53.6% for Aurobindo. It's similar what we saw in the earlier ratio. Sun is in a comfortable position. Ownership on the assets of the, or claim on the assets of the company. In case of Sun, owners have a higher claim. In case of Aurobindo, creditors or lenders or banks, wherever they have taken the loans from, they have a higher claim. So it's not safe. Yeah. Now I have looked at two ratios which are seeing, assets compared to debt and capital compared to debt. There's also another aspect of solvency, which is the ability of the borrower to service the debt, right? And that is called interest coverage ratio. That means, are you generating enough profits to pay the interest, right? So that is called interest coverage ratio, which is equal to operating profits divided by your interest commitment. So this is expressed in terms of times. The interest coverage ratio is 7.86 times for Sun and 12.77 times for Aurobindo. It means that your operating profit is 7.86 times your interest, sorry, and 12.77 times your interest in case of Aurobindo. So is the interest cover sufficient? In both cases, it is fine. If you have something like 7-8%, that means if you have 1 rupee of interest to make payment or interest payment to be done, you have 7 rupees of income. Okay, so you are quite comfortable, margin is quite good. But between the two, Aurobindo again is better, because we have been seeing that Aurobindo has been registering better profits, right? Though total revenue wise, Sun is bigger, but we find that Aurobindo must have been controlling the costs, right? So it is able to register better profits. So therefore, interest cover ratio will be higher for Aurobindo. Sorry. So now let us look at liquidity. What we said was something like BP for a human being. It can be high, it can be low, it can fluctuate, but all this should not be there, right? You have to maintain. See, this liquidity, it can vary, it can fluctuate, but your job is to ensure that it does not fluctuate. It is neither too high nor too low, and it is stable, right? So liquidity, as by definition, as I said, is ability of a company to pay off its short-term debts. Basically, it depends on your liquid assets or current assets, right? And of all the current assets, you should also have some cash to pay an obligation which arises. So I have taken some important ratios here. The current ratio, which is defined as the ratio of current assets to current liabilities. So these are the current assets and current liabilities figures for Sun and Aurobindo. The current ratio is 3.54 for Sun and 2.86 for Aurobindo. Okay. So we say normally that a current ratio of 2 is what is ideal. That means if you have a current liability of 1 rupee, you should have current assets of at least 2 rupees. Now, keeping that in mind, is the liquidity adequate? The liquidity is adequate for both companies because they have both more than 2. 3.54 is good and 2.86 is also good. Between the two companies, which is better off? Sun is better off. Okay. See, in fact, deeper analysis, more critically, if you want to evaluate, you can still say, Aurobindo is better off, because we say that your current ratio should not be very high also. You remember I mentioned BP should not be very high. So this liquidity is like that. Very high liquidity is also dangerous. We say, the current assets, servicing cost will be more. If you are simply keeping lot of current assets, that means you are investing lot of money in that. Lot of your working capital is getting blocked in the form of current assets. Okay. So you should only have an ideal level of current assets, be it stock, raw material, be it cash, be it debtors, whatever, shouldn't be too high. You only have an ideal amount. Okay. So I would say Aurobindo is still better off in this case. Had it been less than 2 for Aurobindo, then okay, it's not good. But is 2.8 looks 86 looks appropriate. And for Sun, 3.54 actually is on higher side, and we say it is unnecessarily cutting into the margin. The cost of maintaining the current assets will eat up your profit. That's why it should not be very high. So then you have what is called a liquid ratio. Okay. here we are only considering liquid assets. In the ratio formula, you are seeing current asset, sorry, it should be liquid. The current assets minus stock is called liquid assets. Now, why are we eliminating stock? Especially in industries where stock can be slow moving, right? It is better to eliminate. It means that you can't realize the stock immediately. Liquidity, basically another definition is that you should be able to convert that into cash. There's any asset, if you are able to without difficulty convert it into cash, it is called a liquid asset, right? Stock we are eliminating when we want to apply a more rigorous test than current ratio, right? Because sometimes the company may have dead stock, right? Say last 5 years it is lying in the stock, it has not moved, so it's as good as zero for you. You may have to throw it, or you may have to make a distress sale out of that. So in such situations, when I want to apply a more test, right, like an acid test, right, I apply this ratio called liquid ratio. So I eliminate stock out of current assets and compare it with the current liabilities. So you can see the figures here. I have given for Sun and Aurobindo the current assets figures and the stock figures, right? So and the ratios work out to be 2.59 and I think 1 point something. I can't see that. Anyway, which is the 1.51. So which is better? And we say normally liquid ratio of 1 is what is ideal. That means your liquid assets must be as much as your current liabilities. Which company is better off as far as liquid ratio is concerned? Here also same interpretation goes what we did for current ratio. So ideal, Aurobindo is ideal, good. Mr. Abhishek has given Aurobindo is ideal, good. 2.59 for Sun, that means it must be having lot of idle, current assets in the form of receivables and cash. So your advice for Sun would be try to keep the liquid ratio lower and save cost. You can improve the profit. Then slide change. Going further, if we want to see what is the absolute liquid ratio, right? Because it may take some time for stock to convert into cash. It may take some time for receivables to convert into cash. So if I want to know suddenly, tomorrow I have to make 5 lakh cash payment, how much cash is available, cash or near cash? So this also is another criteria to assess the liquidity called absolute liquidity of the company. So this is equal to only cash and near cash assets, okay? So we call them cash, cash equivalents and marketable securities as compared to your current liabilities. And we say the ideal cash ratio is 0.5. That means the absolute liquid assets with you should be at least half your current liabilities. So for Sun, it is 0.87. For Aurobindo, it is 0.36. Both of them can work out. Sun can bring it down to 0.5 and Aurobindo can increase it to 0.36. 36 is okay, but still slightly riskier. If there are some immediate cash payments have to be made, Aurobindo may fall short of cash, right? So it can improve to 0.5. Yeah. So those were the important liquidity ratios. Now we come to the last type of ratios called turnover ratios or efficiency ratios, right? Yeah, there's a message from Mr. Sandesh. Share the PPT. Yeah, definitely it can be shared with you. Turnover ratios or efficiency ratios, as I told you, these are like, pulse rate. So turnover ratios have to be good, right? Otherwise, the company finds it difficult to survive year after year, if it is registering lower and lower turnover ratios. So efficiency ratios are also called turnover ratios because they are basically comparing the turnover of the company with various other criteria or parameters, right? What is turnover? Turnover is sales. right? So the basic thing for any business is that it should make good sales. All other things come later, right? Whether you can maintain a good liquidity, whether you can maintain a good debt equity ratio, all that comes next. The first thing, you generate good sales, right? So this is what we are evaluating in turnover ratios, and that's why they are called efficiency ratios, because the higher the sales you can achieve, better is your efficiency. The first among them is a very common ratio called stock turnover ratio, that is defined as cost of goods sold by average stock. Okay, you may also take sales here, not an issue, but to eliminate the component of profit included in sales, it is preferable to take cost of goods sold. Average stock meaning the opening stock plus closing stock divided by 2. That is the average of closing and opening stock. In case of absence or no information about opening stock, you can only take closing stock, not an issue, right? Um, I have taken here closing stock only, though opening stock is available in the Excel sheet in the income statement. For convenience of the class, I have just taken the closing stock. So cost of goods sold by average, here I have taken closing stock 2.12 times for Sun, and for Aurobindo it is 1.86 times. Now how do we interpret this? I'll make it simple and present it to you. It means that stock is turning over about 2 times. That means you're replenishing the stock 2 times in the year, right? Or the sales is about 2 times your average stock, right? So 2 times stock is turning over. That means every 6 months you are replenishing your stock. I don't know, normally we say that a stock turnover ratio should be ideally about 5 to 6 times, right? This looks like lower to me. Perhaps in pharmaceutical industries it may be so. Yeah, somebody, Mr. Rahil also has mentioned stock turnover ratio is not adequate. So 2, as I mentioned, is on the lower side. It should be at least 3-4 times, right? So stock turnover shows how quickly are you able to make the sales, how fast your sales are moving. So if this ratio is small, it means that your sales are slow. Okay, so what is your advice to both the companies? Both companies need to improve. Okay, yeah. Now, total assets turnover, another important turnover ratio which I have taken. There are many, of course. Sales to total assets. So this here we are seeing as compared to the assets employed in the company, how much is the sales we are making. Okay. And for these two companies here, you are saying sales figures and assets, total assets figure. Total assets we have learned already, fixed assets plus current assets. So assets turnover ratio is 0.5 for Sun and 0.75 for Aurobindo. Are you happy? See, how do you interpret this? If I have employed assets, okay, turnover. So if I have employed asset worth 100 rupee, I am making sales of 50 rupees for Sun. And for Aurobindo, I have employed assets of 100 rupee and I am generating sales of 75. Yeah, good. There is already some answer given by Ms. Yuvarani. Both companies need to improve. See, I invested 100 rupees and I'm getting back in the form of sales only 50 rupees. Not enough. In fact, even this assets turnover ratio should be something like, at least 3-4 times. That means invested 100 rupees and got back 500 rupees as sales. That is something ideal. So both companies need to improve. And we should also check this with industry average I mentioned. Okay, I have not taken the industry average here. Or perhaps in pharmaceutical this could be an average figure, but still generally if you see it looks quite convinced, it's a matter of concern that, investment is much more and the sales generated is half of that. Okay, both companies need to improve. Capital turnover, similarly, compared to the amount of capital employed in the company, what is the amount of sales being generated? This also always should be more than one, something like 3, 4, 5 times is ideal. But in this case, we are finding that both are below 1. And Sun again is only 0.51 and Aurobindo is 0.93. That means 1 rupee capital invested, 50 paise getting in the form of sales for Sun, and about 90 paise getting back in the form of sales for Aurobindo. So capital turnover is not adequate again for both the cases. Both of them need to improve. Okay, yeah. So though, as I mentioned, about at least, about 100, 150 ratios could have been computed. Keeping a time limit, I took only these ratios. I think there are about 19, 20 ratios here. You have got some fair picture about the profitability and the solvency of these two companies here. There are last 2-3 slides, and I can finish that, and then we can get into, doubt session. Okay. Yeah. So types of financial analysis. Broadly, you can have what is called horizontal analysis and vertical analysis. Horizontal analysis is what we have done so far. That is for the same point of time. That is for the year March 2019. We have compared two companies. We could have compared more companies, 5 companies, 10 companies, 15 companies for the same accounting period. That is called a horizontal analysis. Now, vertical analysis, you compare the figures of one company over a period of time. For example, you saw financial statements of both companies were given for 5 years, 2015 to 2019. So you compare, the Sun Pharma itself from year 2015 to 2019, various ratios. That is called a vertical analysis. I have taken here. See, vertical analysis of Sun Pharmaceutical Industries. These ratios I have directly taken from Capital Line. It is also available in Capital Line. You can see year March 2015, year ending onwards, March 2019 for 5 years, key ratios have been given. Okay, some of them now we have done in our discussion here. Some of them we have not done, but ratios are given and I have taken them. So this kind of an analysis is called vertical analysis. You can also make it interesting by, getting visuals of this, that is in the form of charts. Like for example, this you can see, this is the debt equity ratio of Sun Pharmaceuticals. Okay, this has come in the reverse order. Normally it would have been better if March 15 could come first. So from right hand side to left hand side, if you keep seeing, between March 2015 to March 2019, the company has been able to reduce the debt equity ratio, right? From 30%, from around 30%, right? Or say 31% to 29%. It has reduced the debt equity ratio by 2%. Okay. So like this, you can, make even the graphical presentations. If you see annual reports of companies, they also give key ratios in the beginning of their annual report for common man to understand the graphical presentations in the form of bar diagrams or charts, line charts, the key ratios, because then even a common man equity shareholder can understand all this, right? Normally, I share the annual reports also in my classes. In this platform, it was difficult, so I have not taken. So with that, I think shall we go to quick Q&A. This is vertical analysis of Aurobindo. You can see, just have a quick look. Key ratios, debt equity ratio. It appears like, Aurobindo has improved its debt equity ratio. Okay. Yeah. So now questions. Yeah. Yeah. Meenakshi. Dr. Meenakshi, you have a question? Dr. Meenakshi, you have a question? Huh? You please unmute. Please unmute yourself, or you can send questions in the chat. Meanwhile, there are some questions in the chat. I'll try to answer them. Somebody has asked, what are the important ratios for what ratios does bank consider to give loan to an organization? See, in fact, banks will see profitability ratios as well as the solvency ratios. In fact, even liquidity ratios are important because profit is required for long-term survival, especially if the banks are giving long-term loans, right, to finance assets. They will see profitability, and they will also see most important ratio, that is debt equity ratio. If it is on the lower side, something like 25-30%, good margin is there, so they may consider. If your debt equity ratio is already something like 70-80%, then no bank will give. And moreover, they will also see the liquidity ratio, because profit is a different thing, it's a book figure, but what actually is required for you to make payment of your EMIs. Whenever you take a loan, you have EMI, so the banks are more bothered about your cash inflow, so they will see the liquidity ratios also. Shorter loans like working capital loans, they'll look at your turnover, right? Because you need turnover, good turnover to, make repayment of your short-term loans, working capital loan, or a cash credit, or a OD facility like that. No questions. Out of two financials, Mr. Dr. Gopal Sharma has asked, out of two financial analysis, which is better? That is, I guess you are asking between horizontal and vertical analysis. It depends on your purpose. If you are interested only in one company, like say, for example, you are a bank and you are considering giving loan to the company, you are interested in only one company, which you have to finance, and you do a vertical analysis of that company alone. It doesn't matter to you know what other companies are doing. Whereas if you are an investor, you have some money, say you have about 5 lakh rupees to invest, and you want to choose a company or choose one or two companies, then you do a horizontal analysis. You can in fact mix both. You can compare 5 companies across 5 years and then decide which company are you going to invest in. Okay. How, there's a question, how ratio analysis can be used. Somebody has said presentation is good, thank you. So how ratio analysis can be used by school and colleges or non-profit organizations? See, definitely you can have there also ratio. Basically, non-profit organizations are meant for, not making profit, but however, they should have cash inflow and some kind of a surplus. We call it a surplus, not profit, for them to be surviving, right? So there also you have a different criteria there, but you can assess liquidity, you can assess solvency, you can assess profitability there also, and efficiency. But probably you will not use the same terms. Like for example, for non-profit organization, we call it a surplus but not profit. So you can do a non-profit organization also, that is financial analysis. There's a question, what are the key ratios applicable to startup companies? See, in fact, startup, as the name suggests, it is starting just now. That means there is no background, there is no history, right? So there is no previous accounting years. So if at all ratio analysis has to be done, it has to be done with the projected figures. So as you would know, the project report is asked, or a viability report is asked for startups if a bank has to give finance, right? So it is all projected, something like next 3 years or next 5 years, they ask you to give projected statements, and they evaluate based on that. And it doesn't mean that you give fantastic projections, highly optimistic projection. It doesn't mean that bank will accept it. They will do their own analysis also and evaluate whether your figures are realistic. So basically project quality is looked at for you to finance startups, right? Then there's any other question? There's a question, how do we consider current ratio? If it is, how we can run the business? So as I was mentioning to you, current ratio is more about current assets and current liabilities only. That is short-term assets and short-term liabilities. These are required provided you have the cushion or the backup of fixed assets on which you are sitting. Okay, you can't be, a business can't be running only based on current assets. There have to be current fixed assets, long-term assets. So yeah, there's Abhishek question. No? Okay, this presentation was crystal clear. Thank you. Soumya has a question. To improve the financial status of Sun, what precaution should be taken by that company? So this we had been discussing with respect to each company, what it should do. What we have seen between Sun and Aurobindo is that Sun is a size-wise larger company. Size in the sense, you have the parameters assets employed by the company was almost double the assets of Aurobindo. Capital employed by the company was almost double the capital employed by Aurobindo. Sales of the company, Sun was something like 30,000 crores and Aurobindo was something like 20,000 crores. So size-wise, Sun is a much larger company. Now you normally see this between a small company and a larger company, that it does always happen like this, or most of the times, that larger companies will have, as compared to smaller companies, slightly lower profit margins. That is because of their size. The expenses will be large. We call them as overheads. And with smaller companies, it is easier to have control. You understand? This is the reason, but overall, you still suggest to Aurobindo that it must control costs and improve the profit margins. Right? As far as solvency is concerned, the solvency of Sun is good, comfortable position. Okay, thank you, Mr. Gopal. Sorry, Dr. Gopal Sharma. How ratio analysis is applied for manufacturing organization? There's a question by Mr. Manoj Kumar. See, in fact, what we have seen is a manufacturing industry, pharmaceuticals. You can split, as I said, depending on how deep you want to go into your analysis, how critical you want to be, you can apply at each stage. See, between sales and gross profit, I have taken only two ratios, that is gross profit ratio and cost of goods sold ratio. In this stage itself, you can apply, at least 12 to 15 ratios. Okay, to see each component, you can see how much is power consumption as compared to sales, how much is employee cost as compared to sales. Each of the expense can be compared, and you can check whether the expense, that particular expense, is under control, right? But however, Mr. Manoj, I would like to tell you that, you're asking about manufacturing organization. I have given the example. Incidentally, I happen to take the manufacturing industry as example. But The ratios can be slightly different for service organizations like IT company, etc. will not have stocks. The ratio will be completely different for banks. In fact, if there's another chance, I would like to take up financial analysis of banks. Banks have completely different ratios, right? So most of the ratios that we saw here will differ for banks. Banks have profitability ratios called interest margins, gross interest margin, net interest margin, etc. So that's an interesting thing. Perhaps in our next presentation, we can analyze two banks, right? They have what is called a credit deposit ratio, etc. It's quite interesting. And then many participants are asking for sharing the presentation. Definitely, I'll see how to share this with all the participants. Definitely, I'll get this shared. Thank you, Yuvarani. Thank you. There's a question: capital gearing ratio. Yeah, Dr. Gopal Sharma is asking about capital gearing ratio. In fact, I didn't take it here. Capital gearing ratio is a ratio of we call it as fixed interest bearing securities to shareholders funds. Okay, there's a slight difference. What happens in capital gearing ratio is that preference share capital is treated as debt. Okay, otherwise in all your other debt equity ratios, preference capital is taken along with equity. That is the difference. Okay, I think there are some more questions. Venture capital fund. There's one question by Mr. Raman. Venture capital funding is decided on which ratios? Venture capital again is mostly project based. Quality of the project and risk of the project. If it is already an existing firm, then it may ask for past track record. But otherwise it is more based on project quality and project risk. Okay, I think can we close? Send us a feedback form and your participant. Yeah, this office will take care of. You'll get the participation certificates. Okay. So with that, see you all. Good interaction from your side. I would like to thank all of you for being good audience and very encouraging also, and good participation from you. And I would also like to take this opportunity to thank everybody, all my fraternity, teaching and non-teaching fraternity at my institute, Ramaiah Institute of Management. Thank you. Bye. Then Abhishek.